Thank you, Steve. As Steve said, I'm Adam Eben. I've represented Fairfax, Alexandria, and Arlington in the General Assembly for 11 years, and now I represent parts of Lee and Mount Vernon as well. I'm the co-chair of the General Assembly's Progressive Caucus, and I have to say that I'm proud that Jim Moran's represented me for the last 23 years, and I'm honored to represent him in Richmond. And like Jim Moran, I will work my heart out for the benefit of our Democratic Party. I've run 3 campaigns in the 8th District, and I've been a Virginia Democratic Party builder and booster since 1990. I've served on the 8th District Committee, I founded a statewide Democratic Club, and I've raised and donated more than $300,000 for Virginia Democrats. But perhaps more importantly to you, I've been a strong voice for liberal values, and I've gotten results in the Senate and an often hostile Virginia House of Delegates. I've passed legislation that results in more than $3 billion in capital improvements for Metro. As of this week, we have fully repealed the hybrid tax, which was punitive and illogical. I've increased protections for seniors and the disabled. And for 24 years, I've been leading the fight for LGBT equality in Virginia. With Governor King, we work to make sure that state buildings are greener, and I have expanded Medicaid for immigrant mothers, and now it's time to expand health insurance for the 400,000 Virginians who need it most. I know how to reach across the aisle to accomplish our goals while never abandoning the progressive values we share, and I'm ready to continue that work in Congress. Over the last 10 years, we've accomplished things that many never thought possible when I first ran for office, and if you stand with me on June 10th, I will stand with you for you in the United States Congress, and there is no telling how much more we'll be able to achieve together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laverne Chapman, and I am running for the Congressional 8th District to represent you. Folks say, where'd she come from? I came right here in the Mount Vernon area. My parents, Ada Johnson and Bill Jackson, were on farms in Tappahannock, Virginia. My mom was from a family of 18, so they knew how to take care of each other, but they sure wanted to come to the big city, so it was Alexandria that they came to. At that time, there was workforce housing in Old Town Alexandria, so a family could get a real start. My father got trained at the Buick dealership on Diagonal Road, became an automobile mechanic. My mom did 30 years as a postal employee working the night shift. Their hard work and just a high school education still gave our family a good foundation. Raised 5 kids, and I'm the first in my family to graduate from college. I lived in the Mount Vernon area. My mom still lives in that house, and I've seen how that area has changed. And it's not all been for the good. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on Route 1. I've spent the last 20 years mentoring young men and young women. I've spent the last 20 years working in the community, working with families who don't have enough, making sure churches and other nonprofits are coming together so that families can be fed, coats can be put on kids. I've worked with the Campagna Center to make sure early childhood education is for all. STEM education is very important, but some of our schools, we've got kids who still aren't even on their own reading level. I believe that it is time for community leadership to come forward. All of you have been working on the grassroots on issues, and politics, the way it is now, is so dysfunctional. People are not coming together. People are standing in their silos, demonizing each other. Community leadership, we know how to take something that has little resources and still get the job done. We know that the budget is never going to have all the numbers we want. But what do? We build coalitions and we still get it done. I believe it is time for community leadership to come forward, be accounted, and get things done. I work with Jim Moran directly on various projects. There is a building in Old Town Alexandria that used to be the largest slave trading company in America for domestic slave trade. He got us earmarks and appropriations to now make that a museum, historic preservation for young people. that's getting something done. Everybody said it couldn't be done. We couldn't get the funding. We worked with various other congressmen, various other senators. We got the job done. 30 seconds. I'm so sorry to go over my time, but I'll fight to ensure that all Americans are protected from discrimination. I believe in a woman's right to choose, and our personal physician care should be our own. It's important to me not only to ensure that women have equal pay, but that they have equal access to capital so they can own businesses and be employers and not just employees. I ask for your vote. I ask for your volunteers. I ask for your support. Let's let community leadership come forward.
What a great turnout. This is great. My name is Mark Levine. I am known as the aggressive progressive. And the reason people call me that is probably because of the hundreds of TV shows and thousands of radio shows I've done defending progressive values against the likes of Bill O'Reilly and Megyn Kelly and Sean Anderson. But what you may not know is prior to my time on radio and TV, I was Chief Legislative Counsel to Congressman Barney Frank, one of the most aggressive, progressive, and effective legislators in the United States Congress, right up there with Jim Moran. And with these great leaders retiring, I look around and I see my country, and we're in trouble. I see Congress completely dysfunctional. I turn on the television, and it seems like every day there's some young man who found it really easy to get a gun, and he's mentally ill, and he's mowed down a mall. We all know the Republicans are attacking working people, and women, and immigrants. And I say we need to put a stop to it. We need an aggressive, progressive agenda. So I put forward a proposal, for example, to make sure that college is affordable again. We have kids, you know it, college-age kids, they come home, they have their degrees, they're tens of thousands, sometimes more than $100,000 in debt, they can't find a job, they have to live at home with their parents. Now that's not the way America used to be. We used to subsidize student loans. We need to subsidize student loans again. We need to make college affordable again. We also know that there are Democrats on the Hill that talk about, well, how much should we cut the cost of living adjustment to Social Security? I say don't just preserve Social Security. We can expand Social Security. You want to know how? It's really easy. You make millionaires pay their fair share, the same percentage everyone else pays, and we have enough Social Security to last 100 years and to expand it for seniors living in poverty. I'll tell you something else we can do. We can protect federal workers and contractors and military veterans by not arguing over how much to furlough and how much to sequester, but by raising their salaries, because we in this district know how hard they work. Much better than the people in the private employment, because let me tell you, they work harder and they make less money. I know that. I used to be a trial lawyer. I went to work for Barney Frank. I lost a lot of money. Didn't matter. It's all about being patriotic and serving your country, and that's what federal workers, contractors, and military veterans do. So I say, if you want someone to cast a solid blue Democratic vote, you really can vote for any of us. All of us are going to do that. But I think you'll find, if you vote for me on June 10th, I will be an aggressive progressive. President Obama said he wanted us to challenge him from the left. I've been doing that for 20 years. As a citizen activist, I've never held public office before, but I've done a lot of legislation and passed into law, on everything from marriage equality to domestic violence. Ask me about that sometime. So at the end of the day, I hope you remember June 10th, if you want someone not just to cast a vote, but to change the terms of the debate, to put the Republicans on the defensive where they should be, to put progressive American values in the center of the debate, that's what I'm going to do if you'll be honored to elect me as your next congressman. Thank you very much.
My name is Alfonso Lopez. I am proud to have had a long history. My mom actually said that I was raised with the Democratic Party of Virginia. I was the 2004 Virginia Young Democrat of the Year. I was an at-large member of the DNC representing Virginia. I was on the State Central Steering Committee for the DPPA for 8 years. For several years, and I helped found an organization called the Democratic Latino Organization of Virginia. I was proud to have been the head of Congressional and Federal Affairs for Governor Kane for 4 years, and to have been the Assistant Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. I've got over 20 years experience working before Congress, and most thing I'm proud of is being a member of the House of Delegates, representing Fairfax and Arlington in the House of Delegates down in Richmond. And that's the honor of my life. Let me tell you a story. My dad was one of 22 brothers and sisters from the same parents. 22. My grandmother had her first child when she was 14, her last child when she was 44 years old. My dad didn't have much opportunity in Venezuela. So at the age of 19, he saved around $260, and he came to the United States in search of the American dream. He worked as a busboy, and as a waiter, he learned English, and he got his associate's degree from Northern Virginia Community College when I was 5 years old. He then took one class a semester every year at George Mason University while working 2 jobs until he graduated from college 1 month before I graduated from high school here in Fairfax. My mom, who was a high school guidance counselor in Arlington County Public Schools, and my dad created a world of promise and opportunity for me. And that's why I've made it my mission to pass the Virginia Dream Act in Virginia. It will be the first bill I put in every year until it becomes the law of the Commonwealth. And I'm doing this because I know from my family's experience, education is the key to the realm in the United States. But Republicans in Richmond have systematically attacked the Virginia Dream Act and immigration reform in any way, shape, or form. Because they are just, they're blocking these incredible kids from also achieving their dreams. And that's why while I'm in Congress, I will fight for real immigration reform, and I'll fight the Tea Party patriots who've been blocking reform and blocking progress there too. You know, on paper, the economy in Northern Virginia is doing pretty well. The stock market's up, unemployment's down, and we've got great communities here in Northern Virginia. But we all know that it's incredibly hard for people to, afford to live here. And that's why I made it my mission to create the Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And I did it while I was a freshman, so that firefighters, teachers, and service workers can afford to live where they work. We know the reality. The reality is that far too many people find it incredibly hard to live in Northern Virginia. People are struggling financially. The fact is that big banks, they view some people just as marks on a ledger, not as the small business people and owners who are trying to create jobs and create opportunity. I'm running for Congress to continue creating economic opportunity for families in Northern Virginia who work hard and play by the rules, and who feel like they're losing their chance at the American dream, like it's slipping through their fingers. Hope you'll vote for me, and hopefully we can all create a better world for everyone in our community, just like my father created a better world for me as well. Thank you very much.
Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Blanda. I'm the surrogate speaker for Patrick Hope tonight, and I can assure you I'm going to be brief.
Well, thanks for that.
As all of you know, there are many great candidates in the race to replace the legendary Congressman Jim Moran, and Patrick, for his part, plans to run a strong, grassroots-driven campaign based upon his progressive values and his many ideas regarding progressive policy initiatives. To me, there's no doubt that Patrick represents a new generation of progressive leadership, and it's the kind of leadership that we desperately need in Washington, D.C. For Patrick, whether it's working on prison reform, improving access to quality health care, or tackling the very real issue of income equality and the scourge of high unemployment, Patrick's starting point is always the dignity of the human spirit, the worth of the individual, and the notion that there's not a single American who does not count. Once movement begins from that starting point, only then, Patrick believes, can we truly unleash the potential that America holds, put people back to work, create economic opportunity, and get Americans back to living the American dream. Patrick asks for your support tonight, and he specifically asks for your vote. Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm honored to be here with my Democratic colleagues who are we're all campaigning for the Jim Moran seat. Jim Moran is definitely leaving some big shoes to fill, and I believe I'm that candidate that can hit the ground running on the first day and get the job done. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Bill Ewell. I'm the 4-time elected mayor of the city of Alexandria. I've served for 40 years in elected and appointed positions, having served for 10 years, starting at the age of 24 in the school board in Alexandria, then city council in '94, elected mayor in 2003, I've been very active in many organizations throughout the region, including the Metro Transit Authority, the Washington Metropolitan Area Councils of Government, and many of all of the actually transportation authorities that exist here in the Northern Virginia region. Something that I've adhered to my entire life is that service to humanity is the best work of life, and to whom much is given, much more is required. And I believe that when you reach a level of success, that you should share that success with others. I had the opportunity to create my own small business. I climbed the political ladder, and I've always wanted to bring other opportunities to other people. That's why I've never forgotten about the people in public housing where I grew up. And instead of tearing down the public, well, we did tear down the public housing, but we replaced it with new modern housing for families to move back into that new development. It's called mixed income housing, one of the first kind of projects we did in the city of Alexandria, and actually in the metropolitan area. In addition to that, I was instrumental in helping to pass the first living wage ordinance. No one else in the Commonwealth had such a law. I did that because I saw the need to make sure that people living and working in the area could afford to live here. I was raised by a mom with 3 children, single mom with 3 children, and I saw her struggle to pay the bills and put food on the table. So I decided that to get the best education possible so that I could come back and help make a difference in my family, which I was able to do so that we can get out and become homeowners. I feel that the teachers today need to have those same type of resources in the classroom. Small class sizes and personal attention are proven to have a major impact on a child's ability to learn. We must make sure that every child graduating from high school here in Northern Virginia and in the rest of the country has been given the same world-class education all of us were lucky enough to receive. We need to create a growing economy that will allow our children to have access to the careers that they can be proud of, careers that can support families. That is why it's so crucial that we get Congress to focus back where it belongs in creating jobs for our people. Investment in infrastructure will do more than just boost jobs in the construction industry for roads and bridges in desperate need of maintenance. We also need to invest and provide tax credits for research and development in alternative energy sources. Not only will we create thousands of good-paying jobs, but we will also provide the opportunity to foster economic development. Congressman Jim Moran has been a strong champion for the federal workforce. If you honor me by selecting me to represent you in Congress, I promise to be the champion for the federal workers and our military. In closing, I would like to say that I plan to work on on the issues that are important to Northern Virginia, but not work for oil companies and big banks. So if you elect me to be your next congressman, that's what I'll do for you, and I'll do that the first day I step foot in the halls of Congress. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Good evening. Proven, principled, progressive. My name is Don Byer. I'm honored to be a candidate for U.S. Congress. That we're each put on this earth to build something larger than ourselves, to serve others. And this seat is today's answer for me. We have huge, enormous challenges before us, but there are also real, achievable solutions as long as we have the courage to lead and the courage to act. Let me offer 3 ideas. We must build a new American economy. We can restore our middle class by passing President Obama's $302 billion infrastructure bill, by making major federal investments in basic research and investment, and by matching worker skills to the high-skilled jobs that already exist. We can make sure that our children are not the first generation of less opportunity than their parents. And this all begins with early childhood education, by getting all of our high school kids to actually graduate, and by reducing the college debt burden. Number 2 was make our country safe again. Last year there were 11,419 gun deaths in the United States. We can enhance background checks. We can close the gun show loophole, and we can ban high-capacity magazines. 3, we will defend a woman's right to choose. In the 8 years I was lieutenant governor, I did everything I could to hold back parental consent and parental notification. But the battle clearly goes on. And I will always be there to defend women's reproductive and health rights. You know, I'm a biological Democrat. My grandparents all came to work for Franklin Roosevelt for 27 straight years. From 1982 to 2009, I was either the campaign manager, the finance chair, the candidate, or the elected official. until I went overseas at the request of President Obama. From Richmond to Washington, from Northern Virginia to Europe, I have the ideas, the energy, and the proven leadership to hit the ground running.
It's great to be here. I see so many friends. Also see some new faces, and if you're not from Lee District, I know a lot of good real estate agents. It's fun to be out here campaigning with all these great candidates. So several of us are in Richmond now trying to fight the hard fight to get health care for all of our citizens. It's just right there. We just have to take our money that we're already paying and put it to use for our citizens, and we're working really hard on that right now. You're sitting in the Gladys Keating meeting room because I had this named after Gladys Keating when I served the library. Gladys served us so well here for 22 years, and she loved reading the romance novels. She would come here, and people would say, it's true, you've probably seen it if you've been around. She would go, leave the library with 10 or 12 romance novels, and she read them all and brought them back and got 10 more. You know, I'm the House Democratic Caucus Chair, and one thing you have to do when you're in the minority, and when whoever wins this race, unfortunately, is probably going to be in a minority. Hope not. We got to win 17 seats to take control of the House of Representatives. But you have to be the good, loyal opposition, but still work with people to get things done. And I've been able to do that. That's the kind of record I have. You can talk to people who work in Richmond, and that is what they say about me. Jim Moran's been able to do that. A lot of people have talked about how good Jim is. You know, one of the greatest campaigns, and I've worked on every one since I moved here to Lee District in '87. Worked on every one, but one of the greatest ones, of course, was 1990 when Jim Moran got elected and did so well here in Lee, and he's loved here in Lee District, and I just wanted to rub off on me just a little bit. But as people have said before, we have to fight for the middle class. One of the ways to do that is make sure our labor friends have a fair shake, that people who want to organize and have collective bargaining can have that. We have an environment now that's anti-labor. Part of the reason our standard of living has gone down and we don't have the types of incomes we used to have as a labor union movement is not as strong as it used to be, and we've got to turn that around. Voting rights. I've been on the Privileges and Elections Committee for the 10 years I've served in the House. In the last couple of years, we've had to deal with all these attacks on people's right to vote and making it harder to vote and harder to vote. And we have got to pass laws at the federal level to turn that around and get the Voting Rights Act back in place again, put it back together. It's been gutted by the Supreme Court, but they said, go fix it, Congress. That's what the Supreme Court said, and that's what we need to do. Next, you know, speaking about working together, a good example of that is our transportation bill we passed last year. We got 25 of our 32 Democrats in the House to vote for it, with only 35 of the 68 Republicans. True bipartisanship. We need a bigger infrastructure plan, a mobility plan, a transit plan, a transportation plan for our region. We need the federal government to engage again in a massive way in infrastructure investment and on foreign policy, and I'll just end with this. We need to get out of Afghanistan as soon as we can and quit wasting our money over there. Putting up with a guy named Karzai now. So if you want to join a campaign that's going to win on June 10th, see Steve in the back. Steve, raise your hand. And join the campaign. Thank you much.
All right, hi, I'm Derek Hiron. Before you hear a little bit about me, I just want to thank Steve, and I want to thank all of you in the Lee Dems for hosting this event tonight. I also want to tell you a little bit about my family. We are always here. We're at the Lee District Park. My son plays t-ball there. We go to the spray park. Now, how many of you have been to the spray park over there? All right. So if I'm elected, the wait time will reduce from a half hour to 40 minutes. It takes forever, but it's wonderful. It's one of the great amenities of this area. Now let me tell you about why I'm running. I am running because I am tired of the partisan politics that we see in Congress today. And I know all of you are tired of it. What I want to see is a partnership politics where we're reaching across the aisle, Republicans and Democrats working together to make our country better. I want to refresh the American dream by growing the middle class, but doing it in a way that we create opportunities for underserved individuals in our country. Now, what have I done? I've been a precinct captain with Charnel. We started together in Alexandria. And I've been for 4 years, I've been appointed to the Alexandria Housing Authority. And some of the things that the mayor talked about mixed income development, I worked with him and others to do that. For 2 years, I've been on the Planning Commission in Alexandria, and again have carried the idea of equitable growth forward. Now, I'm also a professor at Virginia Tech, so to get me to do 2 minutes, oh my God, that's hard, because I do 2.5-hour lectures. But I'm an urban planning professor there, and I've been there for 5 years now. My priorities, I have a 4E platform. They are the economy, education, environment, and equity. And we need to reach all of those goals together to be successful in this country. Now, to close, I just want to thank Jim Moran for his decades of service to this district. I also want to point out that this race is a historic race. Look at the number of candidates and look at the diversity of these candidates. This is probably the most diverse candidate pool in history. And I think that's amazing, because everyone up here thinks they have a chance to win, and they do. And that is the American democracy. What you see here tonight is a symbol of the American democracies and its principle at play. So I want to again thank you all, and it's going to be a heck of a race. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Charnel Herring, and I am running to be your next Congresswoman. My family came here when I was 11 years old. My father is a member of the armed forces. He was in the Army and is a retired colonel. I grew up in Northern Virginia. It's my home, and went to George Mason University, actually. I want you all to know, some of you do that and some of you don't, that at the age of 16, my mother and I became homeless. I lived 6 months in a shelter. Let me tell you, that takes a toll on anyone, and especially a child who is trying to complete school. I was one of the lucky ones. There was a state program that called STEP that got me to George Mason University. There I studied economics because I wanted to understand why in the economy that I lived in Northern Virginia was I and so many others struggling. From George Mason University, I started to be an advocate. I worked with an organization called Social Action on Linking Together. We got the Homeless Intervention Protection Act passed in Virginia. My first job was as a VISTA volunteer. I worked at Good Shepherd Housing and Family Services on Route 1, helping the very families that were just like mine. Went to law school at Catholic University. And in 2009, I ran for the House of Delegates, and that's where I serve right now. I have a proven record, and this record is this. I stand up against the opposition when it's extreme and not good for our families. I stood up on the House floor in 2012 and arranged for our fight against bills that would attack women's private health care choices. I led on that issue, and I am proud to have led on that issue. The reason why is that it actually laid the platform for us to continue our progressive values that we cherish so much. Our privacy, our families, making sure that we have good schools for our children. And Congress, I want to continue that fight for you. There's conversation going on right now that we can increase our revenues in this country on the backs of our students who are trying to get their education. That is no way to grow our economy. That is no way to make our students competitive. They need to, when they complete school, to have a leg up, not start behind. Yeah. Well, yes, thank you. And also on HR 7 that has just passed the House, that again, attacking a woman's privacy rights. This is very important, and it's important for me too, because a woman's privacy is something that is important because typically the women who are your partners in life, you know what? They need to be able to do their family planning, and they need to also have equal pay. A woman's work is just the same as a man's, and we need to have equal pay. So I want to, yeah. So I look forward to working with you. I hope that you join my campaign and vote. I ask that you vote for me on June 10th. Thank you so much.
So nice to share time and space with you tonight. I'm Bruce Shuttleworth. Please call me Shuttle. That was my Navy call sign, and we Dems still have some battles to fight. Like you, I've chosen some very challenging paths. I used to wake up at 4 in the morning to be a congressional page, which was actually earlier at the Naval Academy, where I went to college. I was also an exchange midshipman to West Point, so I speak a little Army. From there I went to flight school, where I was trained by our country's finest fighter pilots. One of which went on to be the Space Shuttle Columbia pilot not once, but twice. Her name was Sue Still. There's nothing women can't do. I was a flight instructor after being a flight student, and I flew in a ton of women. And they're just as good, and they're just as bad. And we need to make sure they can compete with everyone else in the military and in society. From there, I scared myself flying on and off of aircraft carriers. I would say, if you're interested, it's scarier to fly on than off. Then I served over Bosnia and Mogadishu when the Blackhawks went down. I have a profound interest in peace. I have seen a lot. From there, peace broke out. So I was encouraged to, my year was encouraged to leave the military. Went to Harvard Business School, where I scared myself there for a couple of years. Then I went to the Boston Consulting Group as a strategy management consultant. Then I was in business development and worked for several companies in this area, MicroStrategy and Blackboard. Some challenges were chosen for me. To the good, 12 years ago today, my twin boys, Reese and Bowen, were born. It's amazing the joy that they can bring to bear. I never saw my mother smile so much as when she was looking at them. It was absolutely devastating when, to the bad, she was diagnosed with lung cancer as a non-smoker. And my father was diagnosed with lung cancer after she was as a non-smoker as well. You better believe that I see the cost of unclean air in terms of life and death, and I want to do something about it. It's slowly killing us. Now my path is running for Congress, which, when I'm feeling optimistic, makes me think of Martin Luther King's great quote: "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And that's right, I just used Congress, moral, and justice in the same sentence. Not many people do. So, I have to say, I am a veteran for peace, but I'm not a veteran for patience. I want to break that arc towards justice right now. It's our time. Where in the moral universe is it okay for any veteran, anywhere, to not get treated at any hospital, anywhere? These are wounds that they received on our behalf, serving our country. They should be treated, they can be reimbursed at Medicare rates. Where in the moral universe is it okay for our federal workers to not be given the same respect as our veterans? It's not fair. And we should never balance the budget on the backs of our federal workers. And where in the moral universe is it okay to take the wrecking ball of pollution to our planet? We have only one. We have only one environment. I only had one set of parents. We need to do so much better on this front. Now, I didn't go to service academies to fly over foreign battlefields to watch our U.S. Congress give a stiff arm to American people. I still believe in America. So do you. I know that. But we're going to have to fight for her. Please help me join this battle. Let's throttle up together. If you text shuttle 313131, you can join our team and keep in touch. Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry.